live about meat, Ramatis, and eat or not meat. Continue this life. Who don't saw past lives about meat, search in playlist about Ramatis. In this playlist have all content from Ramatis that I make sometimes here. Today about meat. Continue, I think this is the third life. Let me see. The question, follow the question. Don't the careful examinations to which animal are subjected before slaughter eliminate the possibility of contaminating humans with any probable disease? Ramatis answer to medium. I start to say this name in order in Portuguese. Ercílio Mais. Ramatis answer to Ercílio. This last minute prophylaxis doesn't identify the residues of disease that may have predominated in the animal destined for slaughter and which evidently left no traces identifiable by your laboratory instruments. I don't know if today this is more specific, but Ramatis will explain how it's difficult to us and doctor determine in our body. We say to doctor about our diseases. The animal can talk about his more diseases. Then still these techniques are more perfectly, because this book is from 1959, the year. I don't know if now have more specification to determine if those animal is good to eat or not. Ramatis in those epoch say no. He will explain. The animal destined for slaughter and which evidently left the traces identifiable by your laboratory instruments. Despite the strict care for hygiene and preventive measures in slaughterhouses, you are still unaware that most of the pathogenic conditions in your world originate in the morbid constitution of the pig. The animal doesn't reason, nor can it satisfactorily explain to you its real painful sensations result from its pathogenic conditions. The meticulous veterinarian faces exhaustive difficulties in attesting to the animal's illness, while the human being can report with rich detail their disturbance, which then aids medical diagnosis. Likewise, how many times does medicine fail to discover the exact nature of your aliments? Being surprised by the outbreak of a different disease that was far removed from familiar considerations. Sometimes a simple urine test requested for seemingly minor reasons reveals diabetes that the doctor was unaware if their patient a blood count order without serious concern can reveal fatal leukemia. Disease is specific to the abdominal region, although explained in great detail by patients, often leave the clinician hesitant as to whether it's colitis, a gastroduodenal ulcer, or an outbreak of amoeba histolytica. Since in humans it's so difficult to visualize with absolute precision the origin of their aliments, require multiple laboratory tests for a final diagnosis. It's much more difficult to identify the disease that, in animals, cannot be focused on through common symptoms. How many times is a pig slaughtered at the exact moment a pathogenic outbreak begins, the virulence of which has not yet been determined by the most competent veterinarian, except in the case of a rigorous autopsy and meticulous laboratory examination. To avoid this, pig slaughter would require at least one veterinarian for each to be sacrificed. For each animal to be sacrificed, one veterinarian. The miasmas, bacilli germs, and ravenous microbial communities that breed in the breeding grounds of pigsties penetrate your delicate human organism through the pig's viscera and weaken your vital energies. It becomes difficult for the physician to pinpoint this pathogenic. It becomes difficult for the physician to pinpoint this pathogenic incursion, including its incubation and development period. Therefore, later one must consider the illness as originating from other pathological sources. The physician to pinpoint is difficult for the physician to pinpoint this pathogenic incursion, and will consider the illness as originating from other pathological sources. Other question that made by the media to Ramatis. Do you perhaps think that a carnivorous diet can cause physical harm, since the creature has been conditioned to this form of nutrition for millennia? What is man's fault in being carnivorous? it from his spiritual infancy. He has been conditioned in this way so as to be able to survive the physical world. This is the question from Ercilio Maes. Ramatis answer, we repeat to you, not all things that serve to sustain man easy in the early stages of his life on the physical plane may be suitable in the future. When new moral or psychological conditions arise and the human creature may cultivate more advanced conceptions. In the past, thieves and their hands amputated and the tongues of perjurers were torn out. Since you cling so much to the traditionalism of the past, why do you not apply these punitive, brutal, and merciless measures to modern slanderers? And shit, this is Ramatis comparing. If we not can change our food, why we stop to cut hands, cut tongues for the slanderers? Is this Ramatis' question? Because we are step by step sinking in the elevated conditions, human psychological conditions, etc. Ancient troglodytes ate without scruple scraps of meat impregnated with debris from the ground. However, nowadays you use plates, cutlery, and wash your food. Certainly, you will argue that there is now a more progressive aesthetic sense, and that you also have a better understanding of human hygiene. But you don't agree, however, that this advanced aesthetic sense is also demanding the elimination of meat from your unhealth tables. When man still relied on the ingestion of animal entrails in order to survive the harsh and aggressive environment of matter, his soul was also compatible with the harshness of the inhospitable environment. But nowadays the human spirit has reached such high moral notions that it also has to harmonize with a more aesthetic nutrition. It's not justifiable that after his unprighting from the hirsute, form of the Stone Age, man should continue to nourish himself as bloodily as the hyena, the wolf, the fox, or birds of prey. Besides being brutal and detestable of those who wish to free themselves from the lower planes, meat is a continuous source of infection of the magnetic and delicate texture of man's etheric astral body. A question from Ercilio. And what do you say then of those who are averse to eating pork and who consider it truly sickening and repugnant due to the nauseating way pigs are fattened in pigsties? or pigsties, I don't know, pigsties, I think. Ramatis answered, although this particular aversion to pork is a step in favor of astrophysical health itself, it doesn't eliminate our other harmful nutritional processes that prefer it and that negate its first inclination. Morbid technical care and scientific demands continue in other sectors where the exclusive good of man and the maximum sacrifice of the animal are sought. Here, morbid industrialists raise millions of genes under a specific region, developing their livers in such a way that the birds drag themselves along the ground in macabre, limping movements. So that's the foie gras pâté. Industry can obtain a richer substance for modern canning. Their humble experts hastily beat the blood of the ox to transform it into gruesome sausages of coagulated animal substance. Over there, you don't even waste the animal's excretory organs, although you know them to be repositories of poisons and repugnant debris, scraped and subjected to boiling water. You transform them into delicacies for the festive table. The earthly pot absorbs everything from the animal's core to the nailed furrows of its tired legs. I don't know this word, nailed furrows. From the animal's core to the nailed furrows of its tired legs. And not satisfied with the morbid nourishment of the weak, some creatures choose the most beautiful Sunday of blue sky and pure sun to them, practice the destructive hunt for harmless birds, cruelly completing the week's carnage. The flocks of birds with bloodied features come to their homes, where they are then transformed into new epicurean delicacies, so that the bird hunter may obtain some lustful moments while greeting the tender flesh of the harmless birds. How often does nature itself avenge itself of human ignominy against its living effects? Suddenly the hunter falls agonizing next to the murderous barrel of his own weapon in an unforeseen accident, or from the reckless shot of an unsuspecting companion. Elsewhere, the serpent, the infectious bacteria, or the venomous insect ends up taking revenge for the inglorious hunt. What does it matter when that many are averse to eating beef or pork, when they continue to indulge in other carnivorous meals that are equally inconsistent with the spiritual sentiment that should already prevail in humankind? Other question, and we'll finish more two questions. What do you say about the new preventive measures in modern slaughterhouse where antibiotics are used to prevent premature spoilage of meat? Doesn't this spoilage of meat, doesn't these measures ultimately eliminate any danger in its consumption? New preventive measures in modern slaughterhouse. This is from 1959. Answer by Ramatis. This is merely another morbid refinement of your world, revealing the deplorable state of mind of humankind. Man is not content with the harmful effects of his perverse diet and seeks at all costs to escape his tremendous spiritual responsibility. But he will not succeed in deceiving the expiatory law. Soon, new unhealth conditions will become visible among the insatiable carnivores protected by the prophylaxis of antibiotics. Besides the deleterious effect of meat, which becomes increasingly intoxicated by the very astral and mental emanations of unruly men, you will find yourselves grappling with the technical niceties of new illness situated in the field of non-specific allergies. As natural products of antibiotic reaction in the very animals prepared for slaughter. We are astonished by the human contradiction, which primarily produces illness in the animal. It intends to devour and then applies antibiotic prophylaxis to it. Is this, unfortunately? Can you give us an example of this contradiction? Of course. Your medicine considers that the fat, obese, hypertensive man is a candidate for angina and cerebral concussion. It classifies him as a hyperalbuminoid type and a carrier of dangerous hepatorenal dysfunction. Hepatorenal dysfunction. Cardiohepatorenal dysfunction. Hepatorenal, this means cardiohepatorenal dysfunction. The most recommended therapy is a rigorous regime of hydrosaline elimination and a weight-reducing diet. The man is given a fat-free, predominantly vegetable diet, and the doctor alludes to the danger of nephritis, the serious disturbance in fat metabolism, and the inevitable hepatic steatosis. We believe that if the old cannibalistic shamans had known something of modern medicine and could have understood the morbid nature of obesity and its probable organic dysfunction, they would by no means have allowed their tribes to devour excessively fat prisoners. They would have understood that this could cause them inglorious illness instead of the health vigor and courage they sought in devouring the prisoner on a fattening diet. But the 20th century man, although recognizing the harmful effects of fat, divorce obese pigs hypertrophied from albuminous fattening to obtain the prodigality of lard and bacon, first the chickens, then in a filthy pigsty, where larvae, bacilli, and microorganisms typical of swamps ferment the substances that feed pinworms, roundworms, tapeworms, amoebas, coli, or histolytica. The unfortunate animal gave me two pain. The unfortunate animal subjected to the putrid nutrition of soil and debris renews itself in its own excrement and exudes the worst quota of nauseating odor, becoming the living transformed of fifth to accumulate the detestable fat that must serve on funeral tables. Exhausted, obese, lethargic, and sweaty, the pig falls to the ground, which is abundant fat, and remains submerged in the nauseating mud. It's a living mass of gelatinous urea, which can only be lifted by ropes for the moment of sacrifice in the slaughterhouse. What good then is the conventional approval of health which the vegetarian must grant when authorizing the slaughter of the animal, when human science itself has already permitted the maximum number of pathogenic conditionals? In no way will this grim antibiotic prophylaxis free you from the customary sequence to which you are relentlessly subjected. You will continue to be devoured in the same way by cirrhosis, colics, ulcers, tapeworms, heart attacks, nephritis or arthritis. You will also be covered in eczema, hives, pain, figure sores, or sebaceous crusts. You will undoubtedly continue under the yoke of jaundice, gout, migraines, and unknown infections. You will increasingly enrich the frameworks of medical pathogenesis, which will classify you as a brilliant case in the mainstream field of allergic syndromes. Don't have more discretion. I don't know if this is still in our time happen with pigs. I don't know. But we must question inside us. I need this. I need make this offer of this animal to survive. Really? Don't have other ways to have more health, because this is not health. It's only a degustative funeral from other full of disease, full of the pathogenesis. that no one veterinarian will can observe. Because how he said, have pathogens that start exactly in the moment that animal will be dead. And this animal pass by examination from, I don't know, because have places in this land that are not nor certificated. It's a good examination. I don't need more this type of meet so much time. Someone in sometimes so rare, sometimes I eat, but not how people in other places I know constantly consume this. And other problems appear how this meat with bad manufacturing, if this meat is not so good made in fire, you are risked to develop solitaria, that a worm so dangerous that can be in mind included. Is a great price only to a taste. It really is this. It's only cause the taste, because the functionality of this food is zero. Is zero advantage. If we will analyze technicity, no. If we will analyze this only to material eyes, don't value all suffering to this animal. All animals, all this suffering, only to have the different tastes. We must search different tastes in vegetables, in cooking, the different forms. Have so much other ways to give, to have good health food, and to promote this body, to let we spirit in peace and with health. We must take care of the body, but not necessarily we suffer of other animals that have necessity to evolution. Sorry, but we have this necessity, but animal too have. And second spirit said Kardec, you that an animal, without letting him develop all his function to evolve this energy inside of animal, is a sin. They don't say this sin, but is a bad thing that God don't approve this. why that a little song of the call, I don't know in English this name, people prefer that the song of the call, don't let him grow, don't let that him to eat. For what? And is a Pavlov's food. All this is Pavlov's. When we analyze the suffering of other, but is to each other, is to each people analyze his necessities, analyze what means about the suffering of these animals, and put in balance, put in a place to retire a conclusion. Can I have good food without all suffering? If I say yes, I think I can have peace in mind and a healthy body without so great suffering of other brothers. Is still in other development, but here is our little brothers, and it is real necessary stop this evolution of these little brothers only to satisfy a taste. I think is the type of luxurious we must retire of our life. But all people think about your own condition. What Ramatis said is, we must don't, never we must change absolutely, immediately, nothing. We must let the body accept the change. If you eat pig, stop and only start, if you want, only start eat meat from cow. If you eat meat from cow, you stop this and start eat meat from chickens. If you are meat chickens, you change to eat only fish. And fish would be the last. To you, stop totally to eat meat. If you want, we must only make what we are good to make. We don't must force cause. I think this way, and I learn it with other people so much elevated than me. It's preferable a good person that help others, help include the animals, than a vegetarian that can make bad to you, that can hate other human beings. This don't have sense to me. I will stop to eat meat from animal, but I hate human beings. don't have sense to me, don't have balance this to me. We must respect uh, peoples in his environment. We must respect the level of comprehensible of each people in his culture and his environment. If I have only need to survive in an environment, you don't can say to this person, stop to eat meat, they will that. It's not this way, I think. We must have good sense. And first, start to make suffer animals to eat his meat. We must, in first of all things, think about minimize the suffering of this animal. Is the first thing. We must ask this to industry. We must make this. And first is this. Eliminate the suffering excessive with this being. They feel pain. Ours. It's not ethic. We don't give importance to the suffering of others that will you, your family survive. Don't have sense of ethic in this. Ignore the suffering of others. And all societies must ask this to industries. No suffering to the animal. And we don't commit this act with an arm that burns for nothing. Please, what is this? This is a play, this is a toy with lives of other animals, life of other beings that have rights to evolve ours. This is the first, I think, all of us in society must start gently. 19659 this year that the Spirit said this. Then, passed is a pastime. We must ask to industries, stop the suffering with animals. You will search a way to don't make suffering this animal. I think it's the first we must make. If we respect our family, if we respect us with ethic, with the sufferer of others, I think this. I believe in it. Until the next, and I hope you are good in your life. And until the next, thank you to your attention here. A good week.